The series begins with a massive earthquake in Korea, causing the collapse of many buildings and fires breaking out in houses. We see a girl named Seol trapped in her apartment, surrounded by flames and struggling to breathe. She loses hope, feeling like the end is near. Suddenly, a rescue team arrives. Despite the dangerous situation, one of the rescuers refuses to leave her behind. He keeps breaking down the door until he gets into her apartment, carries her out, and reassures her that she will be okay. Seol notices the number of his team before she faints from exhaustion. Later, we see earthquake victims trapped under buildings, desperately calling for help, but no one can reach them. The rescue team arrives and begins spreading out to save as many people as possible. However, the buildings are unstable due to the earthquake and keep collapsing, putting the rescuers' lives at risk. Still, they continue their mission. They attempt to save 2 people trapped under a house when a man named Yuchi, an architect, arrives. He gives them advice on how to rescue the victims without causing the debris to fall on them. They follow his instructions and successfully save a large number of people without endangering their lives. The team keeps moving from one building to another until they reach an elementary school where children are trapped underneath. The rescue team tirelessly works to pull the children out, one by one, without resting. Afterward, they return to their base, where their leader thanks them for risking their lives to save others. One of the rescuers is named Leo, the same person who saved Seol from the fire. He takes the uniform he accidentally took in a rush back to return it to Commander Choi, only to learn that Choi died during a rescue mission in the earthquake. Leo is deeply saddened, reminiscing about his memories with Choi, who was his role model. Meanwhile, Seol visits the rescue base, asking to meet the person who saved her so she can thank him. She tells the manager about the number she saw and the uniform, but the manager assumes she is referring to Choi and informs her of his death. Shocked and heartbroken, Seol leaves, upset that she couldn't thank her rescuer. At the same time, she sees Leo leaving. She feels like she recognizes him but doesn't realize who he is. They both go their separate ways. 4 years later, Leo is seen taking the oath as he becomes the leader of the rescue team. Shortly after, there's a man standing on a rooftop, drunk and threatening to jump. The rescue team attempts to talk him down, but hesitates to approach him directly. Leo arrives and decides to deceive the man by pretending to drink with him until he convinces him to come down, successfully saving his life. However, a civil defense officer later interrogates Leo, accusing him of breaking protocol despite completing the rescue successfully. The officer warns him not to repeat such actions, threatening to file a complaint and stating that Leo will be closely monitored. Meanwhile, we learn that Seol is now a ballerina. She receives a call from a director inviting her to join a show, but she declines because ballet is her true passion. Leo returns to the rescue base, where he meets 2 new recruits. He recognizes them as people he saved during the earthquake 4 years ago. When he asks them why they joined, they tell him they owe him their lives and want to help others in danger just as he did. Leo is impressed by their determination. Suddenly, the alarm rings, and the team learns there's a fire. Leo and his team rush to change into their rescue gear, board the fire trucks, and head to the reported location. When they arrive, they find that the address is the studio where Seol and her team practice dancing. However, there's no fire. They realize the call was a false alarm. The owner of the studio arrives, sees the firefighting team, and assumes there was a fire. She angrily tells Seol that she's evicting her and her team from the studio. Leo becomes suspicious and figures out that the owner made the false call as an excuse to kick Seol and her team out. He confronts her, threatening to report her for making a false alarm and disrupting their work. He also warns her that he'll press charges unless she lets Seol and her team stay. Reluctantly, the owner agrees. Impressed by what Leo did, Seol approaches him to thank him, but he brushes it off, saying it wasn't necessary, and walks away. Seol feels like she recognizes him and watches him as he leaves. Later, while on the way back, Leo receives a report about a missing construction worker. The team heads to the site and starts searching. They hear the worker's voice and discover that he's trapped under the building, unable to escape due to rising water. One team member rappels down to rescue him and manages to secure him with a rope, pulling him to safety. However, the rescuer slips into the water, and his leg gets stuck under a metal beam. Acting quickly, Leo jumps in to help, He frees the team member's leg from the beam, and both of them make it out of the water safely. Back at the base, their leader thanks them for their efforts. Later, one team member talks to his wife, who tells him their daughter is sick and wanted to see him, but he's always busy with work. She shows him their daughter sleeping, and he feels guilty for not being able to be there. Leo overhears the conversation, and after the call, approaches him. Leo says he doesn't have anything to do during his day off, and decides to give his vacation time to the team members so he can see his family. Meanwhile, the two new recruits are sleeping when they're startled awake by an alarm. They rush to change into their uniforms but are surprised to find that it's not a mission. Leo and the team have set up a welcome party for them. The team explains that they're now part of the rescue family and that they're proud of them. The two recruits are deeply moved, tearing up as they thank the team for saving their lives 4 years ago. They promise to give their best efforts moving forward. The team gathers to eat and drink together, showing that they are like one big family. The next day, we see Sol talking with the leader of her dance team, and it's revealed that they're struggling financially and can't afford to pay the rent. Sol suggests renting out her apartment and staying at the training space, which would provide enough money to keep the team practicing. The leader refuses to take her money, but Sol insists, saying it's only a temporary solution until they can get back on their feet and start hosting performances. Later, the team members gather to celebrate that the club can continue, though they still have a lot of debt. The leader confides in Sol that he's exhausted and can't go on, revealing his decision to step down from the team. Sol realizes she will have to take full responsibility for the group. The following day, the studio owner demands the overdue rent. Sol promises to pay and asks for a 1-week extension. That night, she sits alone, feeling upset, and recalls her childhood memories of training in ballet and dreaming of achieving her goals. Determined not to give up, she starts dancing and practicing alone to lift her spirits. After finishing her practice, Sol picks up her phone and calls the director who had previously offered her a job. She tells him she agrees to work with him. The next day, she meets him at the studio, where he asks her to sign a 3-year contract. Sol agrees but makes it a condition to receive an advance payment to settle her debts. The director accepts and introduces her to his assistant. Suddenly, a fire breaks out in the studio, spreading to the fireworks equipment used for filming. Smoke fills the area, causing people to faint. The fire department is alerted, and Leo's team rushes to the scene as fast as they can. Sol tries to help people escape, but she struggles to get them out. Leo and his team arrive and begin extinguishing the fire, evacuating people before they suffocate. They equip the victims with breathing apparatus to ensure their safety. Sol sees Leo rushing toward her and suddenly remembers how he saved her from the fire 4 years ago. He carries her out and takes her to the ambulance. When Sol regains consciousness, she meets Leo at the hospital and thanks him for saving her. Leo smiles, shakes her hand, and tells her it's just his job before walking away. Sol returns to her ballet team and reassures them that she has taken care of the situation. She promises to pay the rent and clear the debts, urging them to train well for upcoming competitions. However, the team is saddened because she won't be able to dance with them as much as before due to her acting contract with the director. She comforts them, saying that ballet is her dream and she will continue to practice whenever she has free time. The team hugs her and they take a group photo together. Later, Sol receives a call and is shocked to hear from Chan, her old friend who had been living abroad. He tells her he's back in Korea and wants to meet her. When she arrives at the meeting spot, she encounters a man harassing her, trying to start a fight. She calls the police and they all end up at the police station. Chan's brother arrives to get him out, and it turns out to be Leo. Sol is surprised to learn that Leo is Chan's older brother. She tells Leo that he has saved her twice now. After leaving the police station, Leo and Chan sit down at a restaurant to eat together. Chan shares stories about his life abroad, and they agree to visit their mother's grave together on the anniversary of her passing. Meanwhile, Sol returns to her apartment to pack her belongings for her move. She finds an old photo of herself as a child when she won first place in a ballet competition. The memory rekindles her dream of becoming a famous ballerina. The next day, Leo's team receives a report of a fire. They respond quickly, extinguishing the flames caused by someone carelessly throwing a cigarette into garbage barrels. Leo talks to a worker at the building, warning her to ensure that residents stop throwing trash in the streets. Later, one of the team members spots an old friend driving a luxury car. He greets him but feels envious afterward, as his salary barely lasts until the end of the month. Meanwhile, Chan meets Sol and proposes an idea. He will play music while she dances at a special event. Sol loves the idea, but worries that her director might refuse. That night, Chan meets with his boss, playing music to demonstrate his talent. However, the boss dismisses his performance and insists that Chan attend a meeting instead. The boss wants to exploit Chan's good looks, asking him to sit with a wealthy woman and drink with her to persuade her to fund the company. Chan keeps drinking alcohol against his will until he feels sick and his stomach starts hurting. He calls his brother Leo to take him home. Leo comes to pick him up, takes him home, and cooks for him. However, when Leo returns to the room, he finds Chan already asleep. Leo takes off Chan's shoes, covers him with a blanket, and leaves for work. That night, Chan wakes up to find that Leo left food on the table for him, along with a note reminding him to eat. Chan is deeply touched by his brother's care and eats happily, feeling grateful. The next day, Sol is training her ballet team when she receives a call from the director. He tells her about a program being filmed with a firefighter rescue team and invites her to participate. When she arrives at the studio, she discovers that the leader of the team in question is Jun, the young firefighter who had argued with Chan and ended up at the police station. Jun refuses to work with her. The director encourages Sol to try again, so she follows Jun and tries to persuade him. She explains that the firefighter team saved her life 5 years ago, and without them, she wouldn't be alive. She wants to repay their kindness. Jun is moved by her words but leaves in his car without agreeing. Later, he calls the director and says he agrees to let Sol join his team. Jun and the director visit the rescue team's headquarters to discuss the program's conditions. Leo explains the terms, emphasizing that they must follow his orders during filming to ensure no one is put in danger. He warns them not to interfere with their work and says their only job is to film what the team does. The following day, the filming crew arrives, including Sol. When she sees Leo in his firefighter gear, she finds herself drawn to him, admiring his good looks and bravery. She can't stop watching him. Sol changes into training gear and runs alongside the firefighter team to get a feel for their work and lifestyle. She stands with them in formation and repeats their motto. 2 members of the filming crew arrive late, and Leo sternly warns them to respect the schedule. His strict demeanor intimidates them, and they promise to be punctual going forward. Leo then takes the team to train them on the basics. He begins by training Jun, who claims the training is too easy and a waste of time. Leo challenges him to try, and when Jun attempts, he fails and feels embarrassed. Leo shows him how to properly use the equipment, and Jun successfully completes the task. Leo reminds them to listen to his instructions because they will be responsible for saving lives. Next, Leo teaches them how to extinguish fires and asks Sol to try. She grabs a fire extinguisher and approaches the flames, but is overwhelmed by flashbacks of being trapped in her apartment surrounded by fire. Fear takes over, and she misuses the extinguisher, causing the fire to spread. Leo quickly takes the extinguisher from her and puts out the flames. He scolds Sol for endangering herself and not stepping back, and she apologizes. Realizing she has a phobia of fire, Leo reprimands Jun for bringing her and warns that her fear could endanger the whole team. He then asks to pause the filming. That night, Sol struggles to sleep, feeling embarrassed about what happened. She gets a message from her assistant, inviting her to meet at a restaurant. Together, they search for food to eat, but her assistant eventually leaves, and Sol returns to her room alone. While trying to put the food back in place, it falls to the ground. Hearing the noise, Leo comes in and sees her. Both feel awkward, but Leo helps her clean up the mess. He then apologizes for scolding her earlier and asks why she joined the program despite her fear of fire. Sol explains that the firefighting team saved her life, but she never got the chance to thank the person who rescued her. She joined the program to thank the whole team. She promises Leo that she'll overcome her fear. Touched, Leo hands her a chocolate and tells her to return to her room. The next day, during training, the team suddenly hears a fire alarm and gets ready to respond. They ask the filming crew to accompany them, but stress the importance of following their instructions to stay safe. They hop into the fire trucks and head to the location, a sweet shop that has caught fire. The team begins extinguishing the flames and finds gas cylinders inside. They quickly remove the cylinders before they explode. Inside, they discover a little girl trapped. They put a breathing apparatus on her to prevent suffocation, rescue her, and carry her out of the shop. Afterward, they fully extinguish the fire. The girl's parents arrive, and while the father cries over his burned shop and blames the team for arriving late, his wife reminds him that their daughter would have died if not for the firefighters. She leads him to see what remains of their shop. Meanwhile, Sol plays with the little girl, which one of the firefighters notices. He is reminded of his own young daughter, calls his wife, and shares what happened. He shows her the rescued girl and tells her how much she resembles their child. He expresses his desire to spend more time with his family, but explains that his job allows him to save other children like their daughter. He asks her to understand his situation and not be upset with him. The firefighting team returns to their base and holds a meeting. One member suggests donating to the family who lost their shop, as it was their only source of income. Despite their low salaries, the team agrees. One firefighter even decides to sell his phone to contribute. That night, Leo is running laps at the track when Jun joins him. Jun apologizes for the misunderstanding between them and asks to train with the team because he now realizes the importance of the rescue squad. Leo agrees. The next day, Leo gathers the filming crew and teaches them how to quickly put on firefighting gear. Sol watches Leo closely as he explains, clearly showing admiration for him. The filming crew manages to put on the gear, and Leo then teaches them how to use ropes for rescues and climb walls. The following day, the team responds to a massive fire in a building, accompanied by Sol and the filming crew. They work to evacuate residents and assist victims, while the firefighting team extinguishes the blaze without any injuries. One of the filming crew members, excited by the experience, during the weekend, Sol visits her ballet team, who are thrilled to see her. She informs them that she has paid the rent and urges them to train hard because the competition date is approaching. Later, Sol meets with Chan, who gives her a ticket to a concert where he will be performing and asks her to attend. Sol talks about Leo, mentioning how strict he is during training. Chan explains that his brother has seen many teammates die and doesn't want to lose anyone else. He insists she come to his performance to support him. That evening, Sol goes to the concert, and Leo also shows up, sitting beside her. Chan appears on stage and begins playing, but someone in the audience starts heckling him and speaking loudly. Leo approaches the person and firmly tells him to respect his brother and let him concentrate. Sol is impressed by Leo's actions. Chan finishes his performance and both Sol and Leo give him a standing ovation. They meet him afterward and give him flowers to encourage him. Although Chan feels disheartened because the audience was small and not many people seemed to appreciate his music, Sol reassures him that his playing was beautiful and offers to dance to his music. Chan is overjoyed, returns to the stage, and starts playing again. Sol dances gracefully to his performance while Leo watches, clearly enjoying the moment. Afterward, Leo walks with Sol and thanks her for encouraging his brother and giving him confidence. The next day, they return to the base, and Leo resumes their training. This time, it's Jun's turn to learn how to extinguish fires using a hose. However, the water pressure is too strong for him to control, causing him to fall. Leo tells him he still needs more training and has everyone do physical exercises like push-ups and fitness drills to build their strength. Later, Leo divides them into groups for practical training. Sol is paired with Leo, and they enter a simulated fire zone to help her overcome her fear of fire. She initially feels anxious and overwhelmed, but Leo reassures her, giving her confidence and guiding her to breathe calmly to conserve oxygen. Hearing his voice through the helmet, Sol realizes it sounds like the voice of the person who saved her during the fire years ago. Feeling inspired, she pushes through her fear, completes the training successfully, and exits the fire zone. The team applauds her bravery, and her courage motivates the others to face their own challenges with enthusiasm. When it's Jun's turn, he refuses to follow the instructions of the leader assigned to him. Instead, he enters another room on his own, attempting to complete the task independently. However, he faints inside, forcing the team to carry him out before he suffocates. Leo becomes furious and considers stopping the training, but Jun apologizes, promising he won't disobey orders again and will follow the rules. Leo reminds everyone that even a single mistake can endanger the entire team. Later, Sol and Jun go in for fire extinguishing training. The team notices that Leo seems nervous and concerned for Sol, but she successfully completes the task and emerges unharmed. Leo is impressed by her progress and notes that she's no longer afraid like before. Afterward, Leo pins the team badge on their uniforms, symbolizing that they're ready for real rescue missions. He announces that from now on, they are officially part of his team. He emphasizes that the moment they hear an alarm, they must drop everything, whether eating or sleeping, and head straight to the trucks. That night, Leo conducts an emergency drill, triggering the alarm to see how quickly the team responds. Everyone rushes out to assemble, including one person who shows up with a hair clip still in her hair. Leo takes them to watch the first episode of the rescue program they filmed. They all watch footage of themselves training and participating in rescue operations. A scene featuring Leo and Sol catches everyone's attention, and they jokingly comment that the two look like they're in love. Sol feels incredibly embarrassed, and Leo, gazing at her, shows clear signs of admiration. The next day, Jun invites Sol to lunch to celebrate the program's success. As it garnered high viewership, he asks her if she's in a relationship with Chan, but she explains that Chan is just a friend and confirms she's not dating anyone. Jun is thrilled and starts asking about her ideal partner, hinting that he likes her. However, she gently turns him down, saying she's not thinking about relationships at the moment and is focused on her dream of returning to ballet. Later, Leo asks to meet with Sol. When she arrives, he gives her a guidebook with instructions and offers to help her. Sol thanks him and asks him to write his number in it. Leo happily agrees. Suddenly, the alarm sounds, and they both rush to the fire trucks. Sol rides along with Leo. Using cameras at the scene, they discover two people had been fighting and threw makeup remover on each other, which ignited. The rescue team manages to extinguish the fire on the individuals and transports them to the ambulance, as both sustained burns. They receive another distress call, and when they arrive at the location, they find a girl on the roof of a building, threatening to jump. A member of the rescue team climbs up to the roof and tries to talk to her. However, she pulls out a knife and threatens to kill herself if anyone gets closer. He continues speaking to her, trying to understand why she wants to end her life, telling her that her family is worried about her. She starts crying and says that her family doesn't care about her, and that they caused her breakup with her boyfriend so she could focus on her exams. The team member is moved by her words and promises that if she comes down, he will help reconcile her with her boyfriend. She starts to listen to him and seems ready to step down, but suddenly, her parents appear on the roof. Upon seeing them, she becomes furious and decides to throw herself off. But Leo arrives with her favorite food. He reminds her of the restaurant she used to go to with her boyfriend, and she wonders how he knows so much about her. We then learn that Sol had read the girl's will and sent the information to Leo. The girl is touched by Leo's words and feels like someone genuinely cares about her, even to the extent of reading her will and learning what she likes. Leo tells her that she's still young, only 18, and has plenty of time ahead of her to do the things she loves. He reassures her, takes the knife from her, and helps her down. However, instead of embracing her, her mother slaps her in the face for causing them trouble, demanding that she apologize. Sol becomes angry and argues with the parents, telling them that their daughter is depressed, and instead of punishing her, they should care for her and support her. But the parents refuse to listen and forcibly take their daughter away. The girl remains silent and sad, which upsets Sol. Leo tries to console her, telling her that she did her best, but they are her parents. Sol walks off, clearly disturbed by the girl's situation. When they return to the headquarters, Leo is shocked to learn that the girl has run away from her parents and killed herself. She left a farewell message in her email, thanking the rescue team for their efforts. The team is deeply affected by what happened, and their spirits are crushed. Sol runs around the field to release the negative energy, and Leo notices her and runs alongside her to help ease her pain. At night, Leo has a nightmare about the girl who took her own life. He wakes up startled and frightened. The next day, the team receives a report from a group of farmers about a fire on their land. When they arrive at the location, they find nothing. The farmers ask them to spray water on their land, but the team refuses, stating that their job is only to extinguish fires. The farmers become angry and argue with them. Leo learns what happened and goes to resolve the situation. He calls the police, takes statements from the farmers, and has them apologize to the firefighters. Later, they return to the headquarters and find the parents of the girl who passed away there. The parents are upset because 2 members of the team posted online, saying that their daughter had been depressed. They accuse the team of tarnishing their daughter's reputation, claiming they only cared about feeding and providing for her. Sol enters and tells the parents that their daughter wasn't an animal to only be concerned with feeding, but they should have cared for her mental health. The mother breaks down and faints, and her husband demands that the team apologize, or they will file a lawsuit. Leo is forced to make a video apologizing to the girl's parents, which he posts online. Later, the general commander meets with Leo and scolds him for not being in control of his team. Leo apologizes and promises that it won't happen again. Leo's friend scolds the 2 members who wrote the post because they embarrassed Leo and caused him trouble with the general commander. He punishes them and makes them stay awake all night. The next day, they hear the sound of an alarm, and Leo tells them to go with him. When they arrive at the scene, they find that a child made the call. The child explains that his mother's ring fell into the sink and she cried about it. The mother apologizes, saying there was no need for them to go through the trouble. Leo notices that the woman's husband is dead, which is why the ring is so important to her, and he decides to help her. Leo goes to check the sink but can't retrieve the ring without unscrewing it. A team member who wrote the post suggests he has a solution. He brings a fishing hook, inserts it into the drain, and successfully retrieves the ring. The mother and her son are overjoyed, thanking him, and the child gives Leo a toy as a gift for helping them. Leo encourages his team, telling them they did a great job. Later, John is searching for music to add to the videos they are filming. He hears some music being played and likes it. He finds out it's Chan and asks the director to meet with him. The director goes to the company to talk to Chan and offers him the opportunity to join the team, with his music featured in the show. The company manager agrees, but Chan declines. The director leaves, and John goes to meet Chan personally. They reconcile, and John asks him to compose music suitable for the firefighting team. Chan plays beautiful music that impresses John, who decides to hire him for the team. He asks about his salary, and Chan says 18,000. John offers him 20,000 instead, and Chan is surprised but agrees to the offer. Later, the team is at their headquarters watching their photos online. They're happy to have become famous and gained fans because of the show. Sol visits her ballet team with gifts, and they are excited to see her. They tell her they've been watching the firefighting program and that she's famous now. They talk about her relationship with Leo, calling him handsome and saying they make a good couple, which makes Sol feel awkward. She changes the subject and leaves to return to the headquarters. Later, the rescue team calls in a doctor to give them first aid lessons. The doctor explains how to administer first aid, and Sol imagines herself performing CPR on Leo. She feels embarrassed and quickly wakes up from the daydream. Then the filming team starts to follow the doctor's advice. The 2 girls from the filming team are asked to practice helping Sol by carrying her on a stretcher. The assistant agrees, and they pretend that Sol is heavy, dropping her to the ground. Sol sees what happened and rushes to yell at them, but they push her down, and she gets hurt. Leo comes to her rescue, pulling the girls away and noticing that Sol is injured. He takes her and treats her wound, applying medical tape. Sol is touched by his care and apologizes for causing him trouble, but Leo reassures her that she's not at fault, and he leaves to speak with the actress who had the argument with Sol. He warns her that if she causes any more trouble, she will be kicked out of the filming team. She is upset, but when the photographer asks her what Leo said, she lies and tells him that Leo was complimenting her work. Later, Sol's assistant sits with her and tells her that everyone has noticed how much Leo cares about her. Sol gets nervous and tells her that Leo helps everyone, that he's brave, and that he puts himself in danger to save others. She says that she wants to be like him, so she's learning from him. Before going to sleep, Sol sees a photo of herself with Leo and feels happy because she has grown closer to him. The next day, the actress goes to meet the director and complains that Sol is purposely trying to embarrass her to take away all the fame. The director promises to help her. The next day, he joins them for the filming and keeps focusing on the actress, making fun of Sol. Leo notices and tells the director that no one gives orders here except him because he's the fire team leader. The director feels embarrassed and doesn't know how to respond. That night, the director finds Sol sitting alone, reading the instruction manual that Leo gave her. He approaches and tells her that he wants to make her a famous star, but she tells him that she's not interested in fame and that she's training to help save people. The director tries to convince her, raising his voice, but Leo arrives and tells him that loud voices at night are not allowed because the team is sleeping. The director feels embarrassed again, leaves them alone, and goes to bed. Sol thanks Leo for helping her, and Leo tells her that if she ever needs anything or if anyone bullies her, she should come to him. He leaves, and we see the director, frustrated, setting up a live broadcast to fake an injury during training to gain views. The next day, the director wakes up late for roll call, and Leo scolds him, reminding him to stick to the schedule. Leo then takes him to a garbage disposal factory for a drill to make sure there are no fire hazards or risks related to arson. Leo tells everyone not to move without his permission, but the director takes the actress and goes into the storage room to set up a live broadcast. He starts a fire, pretending there's an emergency, and when he gets a lot of viewers, he decides to create more fires. Meanwhile, Sol and John pass by the storage room, smell smoke, and go inside. They discover the director's plan, and Sol gets angry, wanting to report him to Leo. The director tries to stop her, claiming it's all for the success of the program. Suddenly, the fire spreads, causing a large blaze. They get trapped inside, and the actress falls to the ground. They scream for help, and the rescue team hears them. They rush to the scene. Sol calls Leo and tells him they're trapped. He reassures her and promises to rescue her quickly. As the rescue team fights the fire, John senses that they might be too late and could suffocate from the smoke. He starts breaking through the wall, making openings until he successfully escapes and throws them a rope to help them out. He starts with the director, who is too scared of the fire, and helps everyone until they're all out. Sol is the last one to leave the storage room, but no one wants to help her, except for John. He pulls her out by himself, even though his hand gets injured and starts bleeding. The actress, feeling guilty since Sol helped her first, goes back to help John. Unfortunately, the rope snaps because of the fire, and Sol falls. She tells everyone to escape and leave her behind. She starts to suffocate and feels like her end is near, but Leo refuses to give up. He grabs tools and tries to break open the door to reach her. He succeeds, finds Sol on the ground, and carries her out. He takes her to the hospital and stays by her side as she rants, calling out for him and asking him to save her. Leo reassures her, holding her hand to calm her down. Sol dreams of the person who saved her from the fire and feels that it's Leo. When she wakes up, she calls for him, but her assistant is the one sitting by her. The assistant tells her that Leo stayed up all night by her side, which makes Sol happy to know that he was worried about her. Later, John arrives to check on her, and Sol notices his hand is injured from the rope, but he assures her that he's okay. Later, Leo goes to the hospital to visit her, only to find that her brother Chan is also there. However, they learn that Sol has left the hospital, so they go to a restaurant to have lunch together. Chan mentions that he saw Leo on the program with Sol and asks him about his true feelings towards her. Leo gets nervous and admits that he really likes her. Meanwhile, Sol decides to visit the old rescue team headquarters. She meets with the general commander, whom she had previously asked about the person who saved her. He had told her that the person had died, and she wants to confirm that. The commander thinks for a moment, and then remembers that Leo was the one who had worn the rescue clothes. He calls him to confirm, and Sol finds out that Leo was the one who saved her years ago. She calls him and asks where he is so they can meet. When Sol sees him, she is overjoyed and runs towards him, telling him that she realized he was the one who saved her 5 years ago. This concludes the first part of the story. If you want to know what will happen with our characters and whether they will get together or not, stay tuned for part 2, which will be released soon on the channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to receive summaries of the K-drama.